True Reality, Part 2. Quote, a very dedicated student asked his master, "Master, what exactly is true reality?" The master sternly replied, "True reality is this exact reality right now, but without you." The student was insulted and deeply offended by the master's remark. He began to cry in sadness and embarrassment. This embarrassment grew quickly into hatred and rage. The student, in a saddened rage, swept everything off the master's altar, ripped down his tapestries and threw them all about, snapped the man's incense and threw them at him. "Without me," the student shouts, "without me is nothing. Without me is death, black. Without me is everything besides what you've taught me true reality to be." The master, still sitting quietly, gently asks the student, "Now where were you just then?" The student, very puzzled and still in the climax of his anger, began to realize that amidst this emotional outburst, he could not recall where he was. He was fully immersed in this dance of emotion, that he could not string together where exactly he was during it. It was all spontaneous happening. He essentially wasn't there. Without any further statements, the master smiled and replied, "This is true reality." Is the world eternal and only I am temporary? Or is it that I am eternal and only the world is temporary? From one's perceived reality, both these outlooks can be true. But what is it that allows these outlooks to be true? Is it the world that my body is a part of? Is it who I truly am at my source? Questioning things does not show one truth. Questioning things shows one fallacy. This allows them to see through to true reality. What about who I am is eternal? What about this world is eternal? My thoughts, my feelings, my physical appearance is everly changing, never to be the same as it once was prior. This is what I is made up of in the perceived reality. If these things are constantly fading into different things, does this mean who I am is constantly fading? When will this I fully fade out? What is it that is aware of this I fading out? If I ask myself who I am, my explanation manifests as thought. But who is it that asked this question? Where is this space that asks the mind questions? The very matter of this physical world is also in a constant state of transition, a constant state of fading from one thing to the next. This world you call home is different by the moment. How can I call this world home if it is constantly changing from what I thought home was? What I am describing is the clinging of mind to one's perceived reality. When one is born, for years he is taught the way of living, knowing, and acting in his existence. This adheres and strengthens the perceived reality to the true reality that is this newborn child. One reaches a point where they no longer are being taught how to live, know, and act in their existence, and instead are relying on a state of recollection of what they've been taught. At this point, one ultimately makes one of two decisions. They will either continue recollecting their taught reality, using it as a mapping device to navigate through their lives, or they will take this blossomed state of recollection and clear awareness and compare it to their current perceived reality. If one is to continue recollecting, one becomes unconsciously bound to their perceived reality. This results in a myriad of rules and regulations one must hold up in order to remain bound to what they believe reality is. This includes their personality, their hobbies, their social lives, all being restricted and confined to a degree of how things should be. On the other hand, if one was to compare their current reality to their recollection of reality, They may begin to see fallacy in what they were taught reality to be, and, at this point, what they consciously think reality is. Doing this at any point in life may lead one to true reality, but it becomes more complicated the longer one thinks reality is a certain way. That is why it is good for a child to genuinely question why things are the way they are, quote unquote, as they will begin to, unknowingly at first, free the ties to their perceived reality before it has become so drastically set in stone, as it is for many adults of this time. An adult with 40-plus years of recollecting his perceived reality may face intense fear, sadness, and alienation upon questioning his reality, as to them, it essentially stands for who they are, why they exist, and what they will do in life, and it has their whole life. And as one becomes older, these factors tend to deepen their roots into the consciousness of that being, making it appear more and more difficult to detach from one's perceived reality the older they get. One can continue to live through their perceived reality having met true reality, but the wavering of the two may seem too psychologically and emotionally intense for certain individuals to bear, causing them to become off-balanced and fall into one side or the other. This essentially is one feeling they must choose what reality really is. And if one believes they cannot handle the ambiguity, they abandon themselves to one perception of reality over the other, allowing it to act as a dictator of what they believe. One becomes a puppet of his perceptions. This is the ultimate form of the clinging of mind to one's perceived reality, whether they think they are in bliss or hell.